अंतर में निर्मलता आई। अधरों पर बिखरी सच्चाई, अंतर में निर्मलता आई। विराजित तन के मंदिर में मन की मूर्ति मुस्काई। दीन प्रभु की सबको देने चला ये काफिला, जिसकी सुगंध से जीवन में सुख ही सुख मिला। जिसकी सुगंध से जीवन में सुख ही सुख मिला। निश्चय ने निश्चिंत किया, निश्चित विजय हमारी। निश्चय ने निश्चिंत किया, निश्चित विजय हमारी। पवित्रता के बल से होगी पावन दुनिया ये सारी। सबका भला हो यही दुआ का दिल में सिलसिला। जिसकी सुगंध से जीवन में सुख ही सुख मिला। जिसकी सुगंध से जीवन में सुख ही सुख मिला। पवित्रता का
Om Shanti. Today we have Shivani Ban, who shall be conducting the Avyakt Murli. Over to you, Shivani Ban.
Om Shanti, good morning. I will just be sharing my screen and hope the screen is visible.
Yes, sister, it's visible.
Okay, thank you. So today's Murli is a very beautiful Murli, and as the song was going, it's on purity and what are the experiences, what are the attainments that we can gain from purity. This is a very elaborate and a very deep Murli, so we would be going through it over 2 days, today and tomorrow. The original date of the Murli was 25th March 1990. And Baba says, and the heading is the basis of attainment of all experiences is purity. Baba is trying to tell us that purity is at the crux, is at the core of the Brahman life, and how it enables us to gain many more experiences and maintain a zeal and enthusiasm all through our Brahman life. Baba has also explained in this Murli that why sometimes it happens that when you are older into Gyan, the zeal and enthusiasm fades a little bit, and how we can avoid that. And Baba has also explained service in very detail, what are the different forms of service or seva that we can do, and that he maintains an account of each and every seva. So we'll go through this Murli. Today, Bap Dada, the ocean of love, is seeing the spiritual features of the spiritual children from all four directions. Let's observe Bap Dada seeing our spiritual features, looking at us and looking at our spiritual features. There is spirituality in the features of every Brahmin child. It is in everyone's features, but it is number-wise because the basis of spirituality is purity. Let's underline this. The basis of spirituality is purity. To the extent that there is the inculcation of purity in thoughts, words, and actions, accordingly, the sparkle of spirituality is visible on their face. More the purity, more the sparkle of spirituality, automatically visible on the face. The sparkle of Brahmin life is purity. Purity is the main basis of imperishable, that is constant, supersensuous happiness and of sweet silence. So if we maintain or if we take hold of our purity, and this is constant purity, it becomes an imperishable source of supersensuous happiness and joy and silence. But purity is number-wise. And so the experiences of these attainments are also number-wise. If purity is number one, the attainment you receive from Baba is also number one. The constant sparkle of purity is naturally visible on the face. The eyes with the spirituality of purity are constantly visible as clean and pure. It's so easy to make out from the eyes how much is the content of spirituality, and spirituality comes from internal inner purity. There is constantly the experience of the sparkle of the spiritual soul and the spiritual father in the eyes. Today, Bap Dada is especially seeing the shine and the sparkle of all the children, the shine in the eyes of clean and pure shine, and the sparkle of the face, the spiritual sparkle. So Bap Dada is observing that in all us children. Because the main basis is purity, all of you can also see the features of your spiritual purity in the mirror of knowledge. So when Baba gives knowledge, when he speaks about these concepts, it is like a mirror for us to see what is the content, what is the level of my own spiritual purity. And whenever we are listening to the Murli or churning knowledge, we should keep checking ourselves as if we are looking at a mirror. Purity is not simply brahmachari, which means celibacy, but always brahmachari. That is, one who follows the activity of the Father, Brahma, at each step. Follow Father for every step. The step of one's thoughts, the step of one's words, the step of one's actions will naturally be in the step of Brahma Baba's activity, which you call the footstep. So is every step or every step that I take is it on Brahma Baba's footsteps, be it in my words, in my actions, and in my thoughts. So whenever I'm doing something, just stop and check. Is it something that Brahma Baba would do in this situation? And we'll automatically get the answer. Brahma Baba's activity will be visible in your every footstep. All we need to do is follow his footsteps. And that is what Baba says is purity. Purity is not just being celibate, but it means in thoughts, words, and actions, following the footsteps of Brahma Baba, which he calls Brahmachari. It is not difficult to become Brahmachari. It's not difficult to become Brahmachari, but it is essential to check that you are a Brahmachari with the steps of the mind, words, and actions. So here the mind is very important because sometimes if it's only in words and actions, it is bhakti. But in Gyan, it starts from the mind, and all three need to be aligned: mind, words, and actions. The face and the activity of one who is brahmachari are constantly experienced as introverted and so in superstitious happiness. So if you're a brahmachari, or if we are a brahmachari, in words, mind, words, and actions, we will appear as introverted and in supersensuous happiness. Because we would not be looking for happiness outside. The power of their happiness and enjoyment is not based on the means of knowledge. This is a very important line. The power of their happiness and enjoyment is not based on the means of knowledge, but on their internal spiritual stage. Knowledge is just a means, but the end result should be spiritual stage. One is the means of science, and within Brahman life, there are means of knowledge. Here Baba is talking about different means that we use. So in Gyan, the different means to achieve that spiritual stage is knowledge. It's the sadhan. A brahmachari soul is constantly happy, not on the basis of the means, but he uses the means for a task in the form of spiritual endeavor. So we don't need to get stuck on the means, but we need to use the means for an end task, that is my spiritual endeavor, my purushat. He does not make the means his support, but on the basis of his spiritual endeavor, he uses the means for a task. This is a very important statement that Baba is making here. Even knowledge is a means to achieve that end result, you know. So we don't need to focus on the support that we are getting through knowledge. That's the means. But the end task is what we need to focus on, which is my own spiritual endeavor. This is why some Brahmin souls sometimes say that they did not receive a chance, or they did not receive help in particular aspect, or they did not receive cooperation. And this is why their happiness reduced, or the zeal and enthusiasm for the self or service reduced. Or that they had that experience at first. They experienced supersensuous happiness and also zeal and enthusiasm. They did not see anyone except Baba and the self at first, you know. So Baba is trying to say that when we focus our attention on the means, that if I get some means, I will be able to go forward in my spiritual endeavor. And that's when, if we don't get those means, we are not able to progress. And that's where somewhere our zeal and enthusiasm fades away. And that's when we feel that in the early stages of our Gyan, when we came into Gyan, we experienced a lot of supersensuous happiness and zeal and enthusiasm. But after some time, it fades away. However, the majority have a variety of experiences within 5 to 10 years. Here, Baba is referring to the variety in terms of different stages that we experience sometimes. And he'll talk about it, flying stage and sometimes not so good stage, especially over a period of time, over a long period of time. What is the reason for this? Baba says, there is the flying stage, is there not? You are becoming experienced in this, are you not? I'm sure we've all experienced the flying stage when we always are connected with Baba and there's an internal supersensuous joy that we feel. So we are experienced in that. Then Baba says, 10 years later, the zeal and enthusiasm of the first year should be 10 times greater if we are making progress. But what happens instead of this, and why that happens? The reason for this is they do not use the means for a task while stabilizing themselves in the stage of spiritual endeavor. We don't use the means for a task, but we start thinking of the means as the task. They make one or another support the basis of their progress. Baba has very clearly said all the basis of progress will eventually fade away. It's only your spiritual stage that will be there for you. And when that support fluctuates, the zeal and enthusiasm also fluctuates. It is not a bad thing to take support, but to make the support the foundation is why Baba is removed from in between, and you make the support your foundation. And that is when we take control and we remove Baba from between. And so, what is the fluctuation that takes place? If we were like this, this would not happen. If I have this, this will happen. This is very important and essential. These are the things that we then start thinking. These are excuses. You begin to have such experiences. When fluctuation in our means happens, we begin to have such experiences. So there isn't a balance between the means and the spiritual endeavor. This is a very subtle thing. So what all are my means in this Brahman life? See, the means of science, we know, but the means of Gyan, sometimes I depend upon many things to create my stage. I need to stop using any means, but that stage needs to be constant. The intellect is drawn more towards the means and less towards the spiritual endeavor. This is why you do not receive or experience Baba's blessings for any task or service. And because you do not have the experience of blessings, when you do have success through the means, there is good zeal and enthusiasm. But when there is less success through the means, the zeal and enthusiasm also decrease. This is a very important statement again. So when we depend too much on means, we don't experience Baba's blessings, that current, that blessings, that vardhans. And slowly, steadily, if the means are not there, our zeal and enthusiasm decreases. There is the means and the spiritual endeavor. That is powerful remembrance. So what is spiritual endeavor? Powerful remembrance, not just remembrance. Powerful remembrance. A constant relationship of the heart with the Father is called spiritual endeavor. Being in that consciousness all the time, that is the spiritual endeavor. Whatever I'm doing, I am in powerful remembrance of the Father. He is there in the back of my mind, in my heart. Spiritual endeavor is not simply sitting in yoga, but just as you sit with the body, in the same way, the heart, the mind, and the intellect should sit facing the Father. So that is very important. If we are sitting in yoga, the heart, the mind, and the intellect should be aligned together. That is powerful remembrance when the mind and the intellect are aligned together with Baba. They should sit with the Father. If the body is sitting there and the mind is running in one direction, the intellect running in another direction, and something else is entering the heart, it is not called spiritual endeavor. This is what happens sometimes when we feel that today my remembrance was not powerful. We sit in remembrance, mind is running somewhere else. The intellect, because it has the knowledge, it keeps trying to get the mind to align with the Father. And in the heart, there's something else. And in this struggle, the whole time goes by and we lose time. So Baba says that is not your spiritual endeavor, and that's where your progress stops. So keep this in mind. As we move on, Baba says all four, the mind, the intellect, the heart, and the body should sit together with the Father in a stage equal to the Father. Sit with the Father in a stage equal to the Father. That's when you feel the blessings and the current directly from the power source. This is accurate spiritual endeavor. Do you understand? Baba's asking. If you're not able to make accurate spiritual endeavor, then what happens? Okay. Baba is going deeper and he's saying, okay, now this is spiritual endeavor. If you don't maintain accurate spiritual endeavor, then what will happen? Do you know this? Then you start to pray. This is where bhakti comes in. Forcefully, we make our body sit. No, this is time for yoga. I have to sit and do yoga, even though there's struggle inside. You heard previously also that sometimes you remember Baba and sometimes you complain. Baba, why I can't go to listen to the Murli? Baba, why Karuna? How will I maintain my spiritual endeavor? It is not necessary to complain in remembrance. For those who make spiritual endeavor, Baba is always their support. Nothing else but Baba. Not my center, not my seniors, but Baba. Wherever Baba is, the children there are always in the flying stage. If I've made Baba my basis of my spiritual journey, I will always stay in the flying stage. Nothing will decrease. Instead, it will increase multifold. When there is fluctuation, there is tiredness. It's an important line. Whenever there is fluctuation, we will feel tired. What happens when you sit on a place that shakes a lot? When you come here to Bharat, what is the train like? It shakes a lot, does it not? Then you arrive here tired. Just look at this light. When you look at a tube that fluctuates a lot, what happens? Baba is showing a tube light which might be fluctuating. He says when the tube is fluctuating a lot, the tube light, what happens? The eyes get tired. Do they not? It's a struggle. So sometimes you are up above and sometimes you come down. Sometimes you fly with a lot of zeal and enthusiasm. Sometimes you stay in between and sometimes you again come down. This is fluctuation, is it not? Now let's look at ourselves. Do we also fluctuate in our spiritual journey? And Baba is telling the reason why. This is why you either become tired or you get bored. Sometimes we become tired or we get bored. These two things happen, and then you think, do we have to continue in this way? That's when the thinking starts coming in. Why am I struggling? Why am I getting tired? Gyan and is very difficult. The Brahmin life is so difficult. But those who are constantly with the Father through their spiritual endeavor, powerful remembrance, experience everything to be new at the confluence age. There's a sense of wonder and they enjoy the confluence age because there's powerful remembrance. There's newness at every moment. Every day there's a new experience, newness in every thought. Why? There is the flying stage at every step. That is, there is attainment within attainment. Every step that we take, there is an attainment that we have. There is a success that we have. There is attainment at every moment. It isn't that when they come at the beginning, they received happiness, peace, bliss, and love, and that's all. They received everything. But at the confluence age, Baba gives you attainment within attainments at every moment in the form of an inheritance and blessings. And so, where there is attainment within attainment, what happens to the attainment? There is happiness, is there not? And what happens when there is happiness? The zeal and enthusiasm continue to increase. It is not possible for them to decrease. Even if Maya comes, there is the happiness of being victorious and a new learning and a new attainment. So the zeal and enthusiasm cannot decrease because you have become knowledgeable on how to attain victory over Maya. Did you hear this? And so, for those who are 10 years old, it's 10 times as much. And for those who have been here for 20 years, it's 20 times as much. Because every day you're making progress. There's no fluctuation. It is even greater, but you simply say, this is for the sake of saying it. It's even greater, but you simply say this for the sake of saying it. In fact, it is multifolds. So even more than 20 also, multifolds. So what will you now do this year? Will you fluctuate? Zeal and enthusiasm are your property, which you have received or inherited from the Father. You have made Baba's property belong to you. And so, what do you do with this property? Zeal and enthusiasm. Do you reduce it? You increase it, do you not? This year, especially underline paying attention to 4 types of service. Number 1 is the service of the self. Second, service of the world. Third, service through the mind. One is service through the words, but service through the mind is also special. So service of the self, service of the world, service through the mind. And fourthly, service of the yajna in any form and way. These are the 4 services. Self, world, through mind, and yajna. Wherever you may be At whatever service place you may be, all the service places are the places where sacrificial fire is created, be it the center, be it Madhuban. It isn't that Madhuban is the only yajna, and your places are not the yajna. And so, to do service of the yajna means to definitely do one or another service through actions. So when we talk about service of the yajna, it means service through actions. Bab Dada keeps an account of 3 types of service for all the children. Service through the mind, through the words, and actions, or service through body, mind, and wealth. Some Brahmins think that they are not able to become cooperative through wealth. They are not able to do such service because they are surrendered, that they do not earn anything, and so how can they do it? But if a surrendered soul is economical in a task of the yajna, however economical he is, through his own attention and his efforts, the money economized through his economy is accumulated in his account, saving for the yajna. This is a very subtle account. If someone creates loss, there is a burden accumulated in his account. And if someone is economical, there is wealth accumulated in the account. And Baba has told you about this account previously also. Every grain of yajna is equal to a sovereign. If someone is economical for the yajna, not just for showing to others, but from the heart, he continues to accumulate. And secondly, if a surrendered soul inspires others to make their money successful through that service, also he or she accumulates a share of that service. This is why everyone has 3 types of service accounts: body, mind, and wealth. And through the mind, words, and actions, the percentage of all 3 accounts should be good. Some think that because they are very busy in service through words, and their duty is of service through words, they can have a smaller percentage in service through the mind and actions. This excuse will not do. What will the result be if that type of what will the result be if at the time of service through words you do service through words and service through mind together? Can we do that? Can you not do service through the mind and words together? So today we'll pause here and reflect.
Thank you, Shivani Ben. Let's spend few moments in silence and then we can reflect on the points of the Murli. We can now unmute ourselves and we can reflect on the points of the Murli.
So I have a question for everybody. So how does Baba say that purity is visible, or the level of purity or spiritual enlightenment is visible in us? There are 2 ways that Baba says you can see the level and content of purity. What are those 2 ways that Baba says that we can see how pure a Brahman soul is?
Om Shanti. Baba is today talking about we can see through the eyes and the face.
Yes, that's correct. Through the eyes and the face, the eyes will be clean and clear, and the face will be sparkling. That's what Baba says. And then Baba also mentioned that what exactly purity is. And he said that it's not only being celibate, but what does purity, today what Baba said about purity, does anybody want to comment on that? How did Baba define purity today?
Om Shanti. Baba says purity is not only in celibacy, but purity is within mind, word, and action, or body, mind, and wealth too.
Absolutely, that's correct. And Baba also mentioned that you just don't need to be a brahmachari, a celibate soul, but also follow the footsteps of your father. Each and every footstep, as you said correctly, through the mind, thoughts, actions, and words should be on the footsteps of Brahma Baba. And that's true purity. Very nice. And what did Baba mention that, the zeal and enthusiasm when we grow a little deeper and older into Gyan, we lose on that zeal and enthusiasm in some way. Why does that happen? What did Baba say about that?
We depend on the means. That is why our zeal and enthusiasm decreases. That's what I feel.
Yes. And then Baba also mentioned any means.
Om Shanti. Baba says that a constant relationship of the heart with Baba is what spiritual endeavor. So we should sustain powerful remembrance of Baba, sit with body, mind, and intellect facing to Baba. So all these should be in a elevated stage, aligned together, equal to Father.
Absolutely.
So that
very nice. Very nice. Yes, Baba kept speaking about spiritual endeavor and very nicely mentioned that he spoke about powerful remembrance. And if we are able to remain in that powerful stage, the spiritual endeavor, at every time, constant is the word, that is when our progress continues to happen. But when we start depending upon the means, that is when we lose and the fluctuations start. So we also got the answer to what is spiritual endeavor. And then Baba said there are two things that happen when there is fluctuation. He also took an example of that fluctuating tube light or the train. So what happens when there is too much of fluctuation in Brahman life? Baba mentions that if there's too
There
much
is
of
tiredness.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, that's it. There's tiredness. When there is fluctuation, there is tiredness. You don't have the zeal and enthusiasm to move forward.
Move forward. Yes, Baba said tiredness, and he also said boredom. You get bored. You don't enjoy being a Brahmin. So, Brahmin life is to be enjoyed. Every moment is to be enjoyed and not to be felt tired. And Baba also mentioned that there are different stages that you come in if you fluctuate. You go into the flying stage, then you come back into come down, then you go into walking stage. But Baba said, this Gyan, I have taught you only flying stage. When you mix things and when you depend upon the means, that is when you start fluctuating. Very nice. And the last, what did Baba mention about the 4 forms of service? or 4 types of service today. The first one he said was service for the self. What were the others?
World, for the world. The next one is for the world.
Yes, the
Next
service
is
for the world.
Next is for mind, and the next is for yajna.
Yagya. So it's service for the self, service for the world, service through the mind, and last, service of the yagya. And then Baba went deeper into how the service of the yagya can be done. Right? Very nice. So I think we'll start a little bit on the meditation. If somebody wants to mention anything quickly, which we might have missed.
The question, sister. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, yes, please.
I'm the Baba's child since the lockdown. If I want to move towards service through for yajna or like that, in any sense, how can I go further? How should I start, initiate this?
Very good question. Especially children of the lockdown, Baba's children of the lockdown. First of all, congratulations you're a lockdown child. So there are different means and ways in doing service for the yajna. See, it's Baba says mind, body, actions, and tan, man, dhan, body, mind, and wealth. So whatever we can utilize for this yajna, whatever are the sources that I can utilize, if it's, sharing a bit of my own thoughts, earnings, and then probably there are certain online classes that are happening. People have also started going to the center. So whatever way I can, provide for the yajna as a Baba's child, I should be able to do that. So not everybody can do the same level of service, the same kind of service. Somebody will be able to do it with wealth. That's why Baba says there are different accounts. Body, mind, and wealth. Even when there are certain programs happening, through our mind, we can do a lot of service for the yajna. So Baba never says that there's only one way. There are different ways and means. And when the lockdown opens, then you'll get other opportunities also. Probably if you go to the nearby center, there are a lot of things that we can do when we go there and provide for the yajna. It's our own way in which we can do.
Okay, thank you, sister.
No problem. Okay, so we'll quickly do a meditation around this, Murli.
Shivani Ben, just a second. Anshu Ben wants to speak something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, please, Anshu.
Om Shanti, just for a second. The sister asked about how to be, a support system for the yag, in spite of being locked down or unable to do it. So Baba says, you're always in yagya if you're in yad and gyan. Yagya is ya for yad, sweet and very, very sachi remembrance. And gya is gyan, the truth. If I have known the truth, accepted, and I've started living in its essence, so we are already in yagya with each our sankalp and thought. So beautiful remembrance and the that attainments of all the truth in becoming the essence Sarupa, Yan Sarupa, that's becoming and helping the yag. If every thought I'm in sweet remembrance and I'm master knowledgeful, so I'm doing the needful. Om Shanti.
Very nicely said, sister.
Yes,
We
very
are,
nicely said.
I think.
Go ahead, Sujata, sister. You want to say something?
Yeah. Means, as sister said, it's rightly that we already been a part or essence of yajna, but still, from our depth of our heart, we feel that we should do something for yajna. So, as you said, we need to go for center, contact, or have a link with various activities, be a part of that, then we can serve. Gradually, we can move ahead.
Absolutely. So Baba has very clearly mentioned body, mind, and wealth. So whatever works whenever is what I should do. And also, there are lots of means and ways to do seva every day that come across. We come across so many beautiful souls who are in need of gyan, or who probably are in need of some level of happiness or silence. Everybody is looking for it. So if we can even give some gyan to them and give Baba's message to them, even that is seva of the yagya.
Yeah.
So there are different means and ways, and we speak to so many souls in a day. So even if we give them messages of Baba, some subtle messages and good deeds and actions, that's seva of the yajna. So can we start the meditation? Any more questions? Okay, we'll quickly start. Just give me 1 second. I'll share my screen. Okay, so let's relax ourselves. Just reflect on the point. Such a beautiful Murli we got to hear today from Baba. Today I will check my own level of purity and spiritual endeavor. Baba said, purity is not just being celibate. Purity lies in following the footsteps of Brahma Baba. In thoughts, mind, and actions. Today I will keep a check on my thoughts, words, and actions. I will stop and pause and reflect whether each and every action, thought, and word is in line with Brahma Baba's footsteps. That is what defines the level of purity. That is the epitome of purity. And today, I will maintain a powerful remembrance and experience constant blessings from Baba. In my thoughts, words, and actions, in the back of my mind, I will only have Baba. I have received such a beautiful Brahmin life which is full of attainments in every step. All I need to do is hold Baba's hand and move on and enjoy every moment of this confluence stage. Today I will practice this stage all through the day. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Shivani Ben, for the beautiful meditation commentary. Thank you, all of you. See you tomorrow. We shall be continuing with Shivani Ben tomorrow also. So be there in the session. Have a good day.
Shanti.